At the start of every Indiana Pacers game, for as long as I could remember, they always played a video before the player intros showing legendary Pacer players. It's obviously changed over time, but right now it starts with Bobby Slick Leonard, goes through our ABA days with Roger Brown, Freddie Lewis, Mel Daniels, Billy Keller, George McGinnis, Darnell Hillman, and Billy Knight. Then it goes through the 80s where we sucked, but we had some all-star level guys in Clark Kellogg, Wayman Tisdale, and Chuck Pearson. Then the 90s and 2000s with Rick Smits, the Davis Boys, Derek McKee, Mark Jackson, Jalen Rose, and Jermaine O'Neal. Then into the blue-collar gold swagger era with Danny Granger, Roy Hibbert, and David West. Then ending off with the greatest Pacer ever, Reggie Miller. All of those guys are either Hall of Famers, All-Stars, or at the very least All-Star level at offense or defense. But sandwiched in between Jalen Rose and Jermaine O'Neal is a guy who never was an All-Star, never won any yearly NBA awards at all, never averaged double digits in any major stat category, and never even scored over 20 points in a game. You will only find a few highlights of him on YouTube. I am talking about Jeff Foster. You can even hear someone in the background of this video candidly say, if you aren't a Pacers fan or are a newer Pacers fan, you might not understand why such a statistically unimpressive guy is mentioned in the same breath with a player like Reggie Miller or Jermaine O'Neal. Even on Basketball Reference, Jeff is listed as one of the 12 best Pacers of all time. Well, today I would like to talk about what made Jeff Foster so good and why every Pacers fan loves him. To start off, I would like to talk about the sheer longevity of Jeff Foster, with a playing career that spanned 13 seasons and 4 different eras of Pacer basketball. Jeff is 4th all-time in games played with 764 on the franchise leaderboard. Jeff was there when the Pacers went to the NBA Finals in 2000. He was there for the Malice at the Palace. He was there when Jim O'Brien led the late 2000s Pacers into mediocrity, and at the very end, he was there for the blue-collar gold swagger era with Paul George, Lance, Roy Hibbert, and David West. Jeff Foster was with the Pacers at our highest and at our lowest. And he never wavered. And it becomes even more impressive when you find out Jeff was pulled in and out of the rotation for the first few years of his career an insane amount of times. His rookie year he didn't play much, only appearing in 19 games. But then in his second year, he played 71 games and started 9 of them, averaging a whopping 3.5 points. But Jeff was never a scorer. His true value was in rebounding, specifically offensive rebounding, averaging a solid 5.5 total rebounds and 2 offensive rebounds that same year. In the 01 to 02 season, Jeff finally earned a starting spot at center for 48 games, until the Pacers traded for Brad Miller. But Jeff was seemingly not affected, as he still played in all 82 games that year, improving in points and rebounds per game. In 02 to 03, Jeff played 77 games, but only averaged 10 minutes per game, hurting his stats. But Jeff Foster was a hard worker. The 03 to 04 season would be the year Jeff Foster endeared himself to Pacers fans everywhere. Brad Miller was gone, but Scott Pollard was brought in to be the starting center. Jeff Foster outworked and outplayed him and earned the starting spot, averaging 7.4 rebounds per game and finishing 8th in the NBA in total offensive rebounds. Jeff was passionate, tough as nails, and worked day in and day out. As I've said before, Midwesterners love themselves blue-collar athletes, and Jeff Foster was just that. If Jeff played today, we would definitely say that he had that dog in him. In 04 to 05, Jeff would come close to averaging a double-double with 9 rebounds and 7 points on 26 minutes per game, a 12 rebound and 9 point pace per 36 minutes. Jeff would go on like this for the next 4 years, being a top rebounder in the NBA, even garnering some all-defensive team votes. But in 2009, he would have a back injury that would lead to surgery in 2010 and his eventual retirement after the 2012 season. So now that you understand Jeff Foster, let's point out some stats that can put into perspective how good Jeff actually was. His career field goal percentage is just a hair under 50%, averaging 50% or better in 7 out of his 13 years. And while Jeff didn't shoot in volume, he was actually a better shooter when he shot more, as 5 of his 50% or better years came when he attempted 4 or more shots a game. And to prove his overall efficiency even more, let me tell you about his per 36 stats. Jeff didn't get a lot of playing time despite being a starter for multiple years. The most minutes per game he ever averaged was 26. So his per 36 stats put into better perspective how good of a rebounder Jeff Foster really was. Per 36 minutes, Jeff Foster averaged 10 rebounds or more every year of his career, and his offensive rebounds are amazing with 6 years of 5 or more offensive rebounds per game. And Jeff's advanced rebounding stats are even better, leading the NBA in offensive rebound percentage twice and being around that same production for his whole career. Jeff Foster's VORP, or value above replacement player, was only negative once in his whole career, and at replacement level twice, which basically means that for 10 out of Jeff Foster's 13 seasons, he was an above average NBA player. And Jeff appears in the top 10 and even top 5 of several Pacers franchise leaderboards. And he is the franchise leader in offensive rebound percentage, along with being 9th in win shares, which is higher than Jermaine O'Neal. A player who has never been an all-star and never averaged double digits has more win shares than Jermaine O'Neal. At face value, Jeff Foster was a slightly above average NBA player, like many other role players before him. But once you combine advanced stats, fan favoritism, and lots of tough Indiana basketball grit, you get a top 15 player in Pacers franchise history. A feat that is honestly amazing. And according to Jeff, he is the
second best offensive rebounder in the history of the NBA on a per minute basis. Very obscure stat, but it belongs to Mr.
You
Foster.
remember it like it's right on your
He
head.
doesn't let me forget it.
He's heard it once or twice.
I will take him at his word for that, as it seems pretty accurate. There might never be another player like Jeff Foster. There might be players similar, but none of them will be so unassumingly good. But let Jeff Foster be an example of how you don't need to be an all-star or even an offensive or defensive specialist to become an all-time franchise great. All you gotta do is be better than anyone else at one specific skill with some grit, passion, and toughness. I'm Limitless Polls. Thank you for watching another video. Please subscribe for more. I really enjoyed making this video. I had to make a Pacers specific video because I hadn't made one in a while, but this was really fun to make. See you guys next time. As always, I'm not funny, and please come back for more.
Same fucking bitches, got the chopsticks with extensions on my dick, cause I like that.